Yan. For the overview of accounting, so as you can see, from the course outline a while ago, we saw this one as a part or initial uh, part of the first topics for week 1, right? So ito na talaga yung pang CFAS din talaga. So for the overview of accounting, here we're gonna encounter RA number 9298 or the Republic Act number 9298 or the Philippine Accountancy Act of 2004. I guess for everyone who is taking the CPA boards up to this point of year, there were no final amendments and everything is being followed on the previous Act of 2004 pa rin, no? Kasi wala pang final. So, medyo ma-encounter natin dito for the learning objectives, guys. The definition of what is all about accounting, the much-awaited definition, and the purpose of accounting, explain the basic concepts applied in accounting, some review of the definitions of the branches of accounting and sectors mentioned in our accountancy law for the practice of accountancy, and explain the importance of a uniform set of financial reporting standards being used. So dito natin ma-encounter or ma-review if are we only using the GAAP or accounting standards within the Philippine bound or context only, or if you are an accountant abroad, you are using the same content or items. So let's check it out and see. First, please don't forget, of course, we are all accountants, guys. So you are CPA in the making. So the basic definition of accounting should not be a wrong answer to you. So in the one of the definitions for accounting from AAA or AAA, the American Association of Accountants, some theory questions were we encountered for the definition of accounting, and they want the definition coming from the AAA or the American Association of Accountants. Please just remember, they defined accounting as the process of identifying, measuring, and communicating economic information to permit informed judgment and decisions by users of information. So the keynote here is if it came from the American Association of Accountants definition, they only emphasize the three processes, which is identifying, measuring, then communicating. Then it's about information already after. Because there are a lot of definitions of accounting. Some are starting with recording, identifying, recording, phase, classifying, summarizing, and the rest. Dito, as you can see, if it came from AAA, they only presented or mentioned the three specific processes: identifying, measuring, and communicating. So it came from American Association of Accountants. So what is identifying? So if you already forgot the three important activities for accounting, identifying, a while ago we encountered, is the process of analyzing events and transactions to determine if they are subject to accounting cycle. Because not all transactions are subject to accounting. So identifying is to determine whether or not they will be recognizable. Therefore, in theory, if they are recognizable, they might be subject to accounting process. So therefore, only accountable events are recognized. Other terms are economic events, quantifiable events, are accountable events, right? The second activity, remember, measuring. Measuring, so quantifiability side, involves assigning numbers or amounts, normally in monetary terms, to the economic transactions and events, and communicating the process of transforming economic data into useful accounting information such as the financial statements and some other financial reports. So communicating is already on the end side of the accounting process and cycle. Okay, so sana you remembered or what is identifying, measuring, and communicating. It never changes. So the definition of those activities or items before is practically the same 10 years ago and 10 years after. Okay, next one. Types of events. As per definition, there are two types of events that might be subject to accounting. So it might be external events or internal events. As simple as the term itself, practically external events involve not just the entity itself. No? When we say entity, that is your business or your company which is subject to accounting. So external events are events that involve an external party which might be subject to some end users or stakeholders of the entity, like the creditors and the investors, di ba? For external parties involved, they might be the main users later on for the financial statement. So in short, pag external event, of course, there are other parties involved aside from entity. Therefore, as a conclusion, if it is within the entity, only parties involved within the entity, internal events, diba? So examples, external events, exchange. Uh, Under this event is an exchange or a reciprocal transfer. The reciprocal giving and receiving. In short, someone is buying and someone is selling within the said transaction, diba? Someone is recording accounts receivable on the uh, selling side or the seller side, and someone is recording accounts payable on the buying side. Correct? Exchange. Non-reciprocal transfer or in your taxation might be donation, diba? It's a one-way transaction. There's no exchange or counterpart transactions. In my subject for basic accounting, non-reciprocal transfer might be just a memorandum entry or no journal entries involved. For exchange, kasi there are journal entries probably. So because there is a debit credit side for that one. And other external events other than transfer. So an event that involves changes in the economic resources or obligations of an entity caused by an external party or external sources, but does not involve transfers of resources or obligations. So external events, usually this is the focus of financial accounting and my subject as well. However, for managerial accounting, MAS, cost accounting, somehow more of decision makers or internal events which involve might be the production, the HR, the different employees, diba? And the management, of course. So, the management, the corporation code, RFBT. So internal events within the parties, within the internal bond. There are no, the parties involved is within the company. Diba? Next one, for the measurement side of accounting. So please remember there are different ways to measure what you accounted for as a transaction in accounting. The several measurement bases used in accounting include, but not limited to the following. So itong 6 measurements na to might not always be the measurements being used or somehow within these items are the measurements being used by the entity. Like for example, number 1 is historical cost. As you can see here in our notes, the most commonly used is historical costs. This is usually combined with the other measurement bases, and accordingly, financial statements are said to be prepared using a mixture of costs and values. Historical costs. For the definition for historical costs, practically the amount of what amount you were able to acquire the said asset or the said uh, resource or resources. Fair value. Fair value is the meeting price kumbaga of between the market or the buyer and the seller. The agreed amount, diba? Within, because the other synonyms or similar terms for fair value is market value, diba? Fair value and market value would be the same. Present value, you use amortization there, diba? Present value, what is the value of 1 peso 5 years from now if the 5 years from now happened today? So present value. So you are using amortization table for that one, right? In notes, notes receivable and payable, and bonds, payable or other financial instruments involved. Next, realizable value. So the amount to be, of course, realized once the said resource or the said asset would be already subject to disposal. In short, on the most basic one, pag realizable value, magkano pa mo pa maibebenta yung asset? That's why in past 16 for PPEs, there are so-called salvage value or synonyms for realizable value kasi magkano mo pa siya maibebenta after its useful life. Kung meron pang amount or value, that's number 4, realizable value. Remember? And number 5, current cost. Current cost, of course, is the current or the present. Yeah, the present, that's the keyword for that one. The present amount for you to acquire the said asset. And sometimes inflation-adjusted cost somewhere in intermediate accounting 3 for hyperinflationary economies or indexes related na costs, you need to adjust such, right? Measurement basis. Now, valuation by fact or opinion. So when measurement is affected by estimates, take note, the items measured are said to be valued by opinion. Nevertheless, when measurement is unaffected by any estimates, the items measured are said to be valued by fact. So usually for related with auditing and external reporting, we rely more with facts. We don't estimate or have standard costs, right? Uh, However, if we have estimates, somehow we value it based on the opinion, the estimated realizable amount or value, magkano pa kaya mako-collect from the receivable. So we estimate. We estimate based on the experience, based on the previous transactions or past transactions of the entity, or might be based on the judgment or decision of the management of the entity, right? So estimates. So in financial accounting, any estimates you remember, any account names or account titles, we intend to have estimates. Tagalog. What financial instrument were you able to do estimates in financial accounting before?
Wait lang, baby. Patay kang ilaw. Kahit hindi na lang. Yan. Yan.
Masigwanin ako ng...
Yeah, for the financial instrument side, estimates are for the accounts receivable, right? The allowance for doubtful accounts or record allowance for bad debts, we can use estimates. And it can be estimates coming from the percentage of net credit sales or the accounts receivable balance, or might be aging of accounts receivable, right? So the financial accounting subject will discuss the differences and result or impact of the allowances for bad debts or doubtful accounts of the said estimates, right? And for some other items, the rest were mentioned for financial accounting side. Let's move forward. So what is the basic purpose of accounting? The basic purpose of accounting is to provide information about economic activities intended to be useful in making economic decisions. So just remember, kasi sometimes they are asking the basic purpose of accounting, practically to provide a usually useful financial information about economic activities intended for economic decision or decision making. For the different types of accounting information, it can be general purpose or special purpose mentioned in the basic accounting terms. So we just remember in our subject, usually we are falling under general purpose. For general purpose accounting information, it is designed kasi to meet the common needs of most statement users or intended users, which are being prepared in my subject and in the financial accounting subject. So general purpose tayo. So in short, this general purpose information is being governed by PFRS. So GAAP, PFRS, and PAS within the general purpose accounting information. However, pag specific purpose, otherwise known as special purpose. So specific, that's a key term, no? General, common. As you can see, if you highlighted the slide, the difference for the common users or the intended users, they have their common needs. General purpose financial statements or general purpose accounting information, yun. Otherwise, specific or special needs, special purpose accounting information, such as the other subjects, which is managerial accounting and tax or taxation, no special purpose. Managerial accounting, they are not really within the bound of different PFRS or Philippine accounting standards, but mostly intended for decision making of the management within the entity. So they are not limited with PFRS. As contrary with our subject in financial accounting and as to my subject, if it is general purpose, there should be specific accounting standards or standard to be followed. Again, double entry was done a while ago. So these are some basic accounting concepts I already summarized because some are getting confused with the definition because some would have some familiar terms or they forgot some terms and have the other terms or accounting concepts paralleled with other definitions. So to sum it up, double entry, we're done with that one. Debit credit. The next one, going concern assumption. So please remember in your basic accounting or CFAS for financial accounting, we are always undergoing concern assumption. It only means that the entity is assumed to carry on its operations for an indefinite period of time. In short, general going concern means that we should, as accountants, we should always do the accounting process and do the accounting cycle for as long as the business or the entity exists. Because for if there's any no signs of bankruptcy, if there are no indications that the said company will go and file for bankruptcy, therefore we are under a going concern assumption. In short, magpalit man ng mga accountants or personnel or positions within the entity, we should continue the accounting process, going concern assumption. That's why the different financial statements are being carried on forward specifically for the statement of financial position or the balance sheet. Next, the third one, separate entity. There are a lot of questions for separate entity. In short, the accounting for the said entity is separate or have a different accounting as contrary to the private transactions of the owners of the said entity. So separate entity, the entity is treated separately from its owners. That's why in partnership accounting and in corporation accounting, the financial statements being prepared as contrary with the owners of the said businesses or entities are separate with their personal assets or liabilities, right? Separate entity. Hiwalay sa owners ang ina-account mo from the business or entity itself. The fourth bullet is stable monetary unit. So therefore, it's not enough that we are going concern assumption and doing double entry in the accounting process or side. Stable monetary unit. So there should be a uniform and stable monetary unit. The amounts of in the financial statements are stated in terms of a common unit of measure. So sa atin, Philippine context or setting, legal currency, Philippine peso. And changes in purchasing power are ignored as well. So in advanced accounting, therefore, there is accounting for translation and changes with foreign exchange transactions. So everything is being converted to Philippine peso, which is our legal denomination or currency. Stable monetary unit. Next one, time period. Accounting is not infinite. There should always be a time period. The life of the business is divided into series of reporting periods or accounting periods. If it is not stated or given, what is the time period, at least minimum, for accounting reporting? Is it 6 months, 12 months, 2 years, 5 years? What? Answer, time period. Yan, 12 months. Or in short, 1 year. Please don't forget. Minsan kasi short span or period of time below or baka interim yan in financial accounting 3. Baka interim period yan. When we say interim period is below or less than 12 months. But in the basic accounting concepts, if it's not stated or given, at least there should be there should be at least 12 months or 1 year in short. Kasi less than or below is interim period, which is specific financial accounting side No? So time period of accounting. Moving forward, materiality concept or materiality itself. Kailan nagiging material yung information? Answer, for the materiality side, information is material if its omission, meaning if you did not accounted the said transaction, you omitted, you did not accounted, or misstatement could influence economic decisions or could impact the result of operations or the financial performance or the financial status or the financial position side of the entity, right? Materiality. However, if it does not affect with the said sides, financial performance, position, and the rest of the financial side of the entity, it's not material. So materiality, if it impacts, if it affects or changes somehow the or influence the decision because you were not able to record the said transaction. So materiality is not a general concept, it's a case-to-case basis. Why? Because some entities, large by nature or size, or per transaction, for transactions, they have many transactions or large or big capital investments. They might have material transactions which are not material to other entities or businesses. Same with the small businesses or entities, right? What is material to them might not be material with other entities, which is large by nature or or by transaction. All right, so case-to-case basis is a matter of decision as well of uh, is a matter of decision as well of the accountant or the decision makers or the management side. Okay? And lastly, in accounting, we always follow the cost benefit principle or assumption. In doing accounting, the benefit should always exceed over costs. Mas malaki daw lagi yung inflow over sa outflow, theoretical side. The cost of processing and communicating information should not exceed the benefits, di ba? To be derived from it. Oh, you are following the set standards. You are using the set specific standards, but it's too costly and really affect the financial status or side of the entity. Whereas you are only somehow a startup business or an entity and uh, or a specific form of entity which is not within the uh, generally publicly listed entities, di ba? So baka cooperative naman pala, baka other forms of uh, organization, di ba? And it's costly. So cost-benefit assumption or approach, the benefits should always exceed over cost. So somehow, it's a matter of balance between the benefit over cost, then materiality side if you decided to omit or not to record the said transaction. Di ba? So cost-benefit assumption. Benefit should exceed costs. Inflows over outflows. Yan. Here, most undergrad students forgot or tend to forget this slide. So it's important for us to give emphasis for the first one, accrual basis of accounting. A while ago, I asked you what is all about prepaid expenses. How do you classify such unearned income, deferred expense, accrued income, and the rest? The main reason why those items or accounts exist is because of the first bullet, accrual basis of accounting. In accrual basis of accounting, the effects of transactions, take note, are recognized when they occur, when they happened, and not as cash is received or paid. Because if you are falling under the open and close parentheses for cash is received or paid, cash basis of accounting is being used. Okay? So you recognize the different transactions when they occur, that is accrual basis of accounting, not when you pay cash or you receive cash. Because if that is the case, that is a cash basis of accounting. And at minimal, SMEs somehow or micro businesses are using cash basis of accounting. Now, example, when you go to the public market, they are not giving you some credit and they are not lending those products to you because they are cash basis, diba? You pay the one you are buying in the market and you receive the said products. So they are recognized in the accounting periods to which they relate. That's why those accounts or account names we have a while ago exist because of accrual basis of accounting. as a specific concept for accrual basis of accounting, you recognize your income when you earned the income, not when you receive the said income. Diba? You recognize the expenses when you incurred the said expenses, not when you paid the said expenses. Because otherwise, it's cash basis. No? Silent rule, no other specific theory mentioned, we should always fall under accrual basis of accounting. Moving forward, historical cost concept. So mostly it falls under assets. The value of an asset is determined on the basis of acquisition cost. Historical costs, the cost, the amount for you to acquire the said asset or resource, historical cost concept. Because if we are not using historical cost concept, like in past 16, might be fair value method or basis. A fair value is updated value or amount, no? Mostly being used under financial instruments, specifically for investments. Nevertheless, generally speaking, historical cost concept tayo. It means that we record the said asset, acquisition of the said asset based on the amount, of the amount we paid for us to acquire the said asset. That's what they call historical costs, no? And the concept of articulation, it means that all of the components of a complete set of financial statements are interrelated. If we go back with articulate, meaning all the financial statements we prepared under past one is somehow connected with each other. No? So if you remember the previous slide or the previous presentation about financial statements, which normally is being prepared first, which is being prepared last. So sino ang let's have income statement, statement of comprehensive income versus statement of financial position. Which financial statement should be prepared first? Are we going to prepare the statement of financial position first, or are we going to prepare it last? So first, yan. With a point of comparison of a statement of comprehensive income, or before it was known as income statement, versus a statement of financial position, or commonly known as balance sheet, the concept of articulation, practically we prepare first the income statement, right? The statement of comprehensive income. Because in the statement of comprehensive income, that's the reflection of the financial performance or financial position. Of course, for a statement of comprehensive income, the financial performance, the income or profit or loss, right? That's why on the performance side, it will be reflected on the position, which is the statement of financial position or balance sheet. That's why chronologically or articulately speaking, the last financial statement being prepared between the two is the balance sheet or the statement of financial position, because you're gonna update the up-to-date amounts for the balance sheet, right? That's the basics for the said concepts, and that's why there is a point of difference when it comes to dates. Tama ho ba? There's when you're gonna prepare financial statements. I remember the last financial statements I prepared was for a cooperative here in Baguio City this year. So there is a specific dates you should be able to emphasize on the header, di ba? One is as of the said like December 31, 2022. One is a specific date like December 31 for the period ending December 31, 2023 or 2022, right? So there's a difference between the dates kasi okay, for review. For the statement of comprehensive income, what date you're gonna use? For the period ending December 31, 2022 or as of December 31, 2022 or / December 31, 2022. Ayan, may mga sumasagot. Yan. For those of you who are not able to remember, for income statement of comprehensive income for the period ending, it only means within that year bound only, not carry over, right? Therefore, for the statement of financial position is as of the said date, diba? It means the updated status or amount of the said financial statement of the said date. So if it is as of December 31, 2022, that's the balance sheet or the statement of financial position because the previous years were accumulated in the current year or period for as long as those account titles exist, right? So there's a point of difference between the said dates articulation side. Next, matching concept of accounting. When we say matching concept of accounting, yan, matching is not the animal, but it's an accounting concept. When we say matching, there should always be the relevance or relationship between the cost and the inflow side. Costs are recognized as expenses when the inflow or the related revenue is recognized. So for every matching concept related, like for it means that when you incur or when you acquire, as for the assets, when you acquire the assets, there is a counterpart, which is an outflow, right? You debit equipment because you acquire the equipment, and you credit cash because there's an outflow of cash. That's why your asset was decreased, diba? For acquisition of asset. Oh, matching. There's a related costs and the related revenue somehow. On the other side, on the on the other side, for the incurrence of liabilities, right? When you incur a loan with a bank, you debit cash, so an asset is increased, but you record a liability. So a cost somehow in the future would uh result to, wait, I'm gonna hide the chat first. Would result to interest or outflows in the future, right? So matching principle, there's a relation or integration between the inflows and the outflows, or the costs and the revenue related. Moving forward, these concepts is about the uh, relevance with the accounting equation. So usually binibigay na lang as per definition. What is residual equity theory, or the question is the definition itself. So if the definition is the theory is applicable where there are two classes of shares issued. So for entity, which is a company, ordinary shares and preferred shares. The account equation is assets minus liabilities minus preference shareholders equity is equal to ordinary shareholders equity. What accounting equation is being reflected is the residual equity theory. So residual equity theory, the excess which is coming or going will go for the ordinary shareholders, right? So residual equity theory, the assets minus liab minus preference shareholders equity equals ordinary shareholders equity. A while ago, for the accounting equation, account assets is equal to liabilities plus equity or capital is the basic accounting equation. This is the additional one for residual equity theory side. When we say fund theory, nevertheless, right? Nevertheless, when we say fund theory, the accounting objective is the custody and administrative of funds or administration of funds. Usually, fund theory, when we equate such inflows minus outflows, the net amount will be given, or the fund itself. That's why it's called fund theory, right? Usually for government accounting, they are using fund theory. Inflows minus outflows. Any positive result or balance is the fund. That's why it's called fund theory, right? Realization, the process of converting the different resources or assets into a readily available cash so that you realize the said item or product or transaction, di ba? Converting everything somehow to a resources or an asset. And of course, you already know asset is the most liquid one. Anyway, we will upload such or share such. So realization yung dulo. Yan. Realization, the process of converting the different resources or transactions to readily available asset, or in short, cash, diba? In short, sales. Sales transaction is a realization of assets. You are converting your inventories, you're converting your assets to cost of goods sold or sales. And sales will reflect a realization of assets because For every sales, there's a counterpart of an asset being earned by the said entity, like if it is cash or accounts receivable, right? The realization. Realization, another example of the said transaction is for the said different PPEs or equipments. If you are not already using the equipments or PPEs, you're gonna sell such with its salvage value or realizable value. You realize the said asset converted into cash, right? Accounting concepts. And I have here a summary of definition. You can screenshot. What is the difference between the different branches of accounting? May mga nagkakamali pa ko rito kaya isinama ko na to. The branches for the different branches of accounting. Let's start off with financial accounting, which is the focus of my subject, and with financial accounting subject. Basically, if the definition or requirement is for the purpose is general purpose financial statements or common users. The focus, if that is the case, is financial accounting, or in short, external. That's the keyword. If it is all about external reporting, malamang sa malamang that is a branch of accounting integrated with financial accounting. Okay? Nevertheless, if it is internal related, malamang nasa management accounting yon, because it focuses on special purpose financial reports for use by the entities managed. Okay? That's the main point of difference, financial accounting and management accounting. The third one is a hybrid of financial and management accounting. In financial accounting, you are following the different GAAPs, generally accepted accounting principles. Sa atin, specifically, PFRS and PAS, or in short, the different accounting standards. In management accounting, there's no specific or strict, as I mentioned a while ago, strict way that, or strict policy that you're gonna use the different specific accounting standards. It might depend on the needs of the said entities. So, hindi strict na puro accounting standards from PAS, PFRS ang ginagamit sa management accounting. Because in management accounting, you're analyzing and doing some financial management formulas, variances, and some other analyses. In cost accounting is a hybrid of financial and management accounting, because for cost accounting, you are doing somehow an external reporting as well, and preparing financial statements for manufacturing related entities. Then somehow also you do cost accounting for decision making as far as internal or management is concerned. So hybrid siya in between financial and management accounting. That's why we came up with the definition that cost accounting is a systematic recording and analysis of the cost of materials, labor, and factory overhead incident to production. So mostly for manufacturing entities ang gumagamit or gumagawa ng cost accounting. But nevertheless, we do cost accounting as well for other related costs or outflows for services if needed, and merchandising as well. Kaya ang hybrid siya, pwedeng for external reporting purposes or use, or for decision making within the management or internal bound. Okay? Next, your other subjects definition. I believe they already defined everything. So auditing is the process of evaluating the correspondence of certain assertions with established criteria and expressing an opinion thereon. So in theories, when we say auditing, the work of an auditor starts once the accountant's work ends. No? Ang duty or auditing daw nag-uumpisa pag natapos yung accounting cycle or process. Sa mga auditors dyan, I believe you agree with such analysis or evaluation of the said theory. No? So auditing, you try to work back or look if they got the correct interpretation and application of the different accounting standards used from financial accounting, right? Auditing. Next one, tax accounting or taxation. The preparation of tax returns and the rendering of tax advice, such as the determination of tax consequences of certain proposed business endeavors, or in short, sa taxation subject nyo, for as long as it is intended or bound for taxation reasons. Of course, it's for tax accounting already. And next is for government accounting. So another branch, usually pag sipali, it falls for advanced accounting. Few questions for government accounting. Basta it involves the government, of course, in terms of their use of the public funds, placing emphasis on the custody of public funds and the purpose for which those funds are committed, and the responsibility and accountability of the individuals entrusted with those funds. So when it comes to funds custody and the use of the said funds, usually that's the main focus of government accounting. So these are different branches or practically the subjects of you guys, no, for this program. Highlight on the definitions. I hope you will not uh, get confused or already know the main point of differences between those definitions for branches of accounting. Next one. The different sectors or practices of accountancy. So we are falling already under RA 9298 as well because this was mentioned. There are 4 sectors in the practice of accountancy. So for everyone or some of you who graduated way back, so I hope you remembered that there are 4 sectors of accountancy. Accountancy is the profession. The one you are doing is the accounting side, right? So in our profession, first practice of public accountancy, or in short, public practice. It involves the rendering of audit side or accounting related services to more than one client on a fee basis. So I adopted the definition here for financial accounting. So pag financial accounting ang query or question, ito yung definition for practice of public accountancy or public practice in short. If you are engaged, engagements, audit engagements, public practice in short ang tanungan, ang answer for that one. However, you are in line with practice number 2 for commerce and industry because you are employed in the private sector or entities or the most some common companies, of course, some BPO companies, San Miguel, SM, the rest. You are accountants there, you are under the practice of commerce and industry. So it refers to your employment there in a position or an accounting position which involves decision-making requiring professional knowledge in the science of accounting, and such position requires that the holder must thereof be a CPA or certified public accountant, like us teaching you guys or as reviewers for you in this program. So yeah, practice in commerce industry, private sector, commerce and industry. Na ngayon, this is a misconception. Usually there are questions that these are the only choices. So both of them are part of the sectors. But the misconception is it's not only the 2 of them. Why? Because there's the 3rd one and the 4th one. The 3rd one, the 3rd one, of course, in the government practice. So practice in the government, it means therefore you are a government accountant and subject to the different management of public funds and custodies, public use, and the rest. So yun ang assignment or involvement mo. BIR, COA, or the rest. Basta engaged or employed na CPA sa government, of course, government practice. And however, the 4th one, as reviewers, as I mentioned, the reviewers is practice in the academe somehow. So, but in RA 9298, it was mentioned there, for as long as we are a CPA was employed in a higher educational institution, in short, universities or colleges somehow, and teaching board-related, CPA board-related, accounting related subjects, we are engaged or having a practice in the academy. So there are 4 valid practices of the accountancy profession. Okay? So 4 lagi yun. Hindi pa napalitan. Okay? We're down to the last stretch or few slides of our accounting concepts. Now, the PFRS or the Philippine Financial Reporting Standards. These are standards in short and interpretations adopted by, this is the council, FRSC, Financial Reporting Standards Council. So in short, as a conclusion, we don't own the financial reporting standards or the PFRS somehow. It's adopted. That's the keyword. It's not formulated. It's not defined. It's adopted because GAAP or generally accepted accounting principles somehow is a universal one. So somehow, in short, yung past one or the financial statements presentation from past one here in the Philippines is integrated or the same in International Accounting Standards number 1 for preparation and presentation of the financial statements. So when you go to other countries, the related standard for financial statements would be the same, 'di ba? Because it's adopted. So FRSC is the council or the governing body for the adaptation of the PFRS. Ngayon, when we say PFRS, they comprise the following: the PFRS itself or the Philippine Financial Reporting Standards, the Philippine Accounting Standards, and the third one, the interpretations coming from FRSC. Okay? So, there is no point of difference to be emphasized here. In short, that we are following specific accounting standards when we do financial reporting or the accounting process. But usually, if it is PFRS, those are some new standards like related with accounting, advanced accounting, or financial instruments. They have few new accounting standards. So usually it's PFRS, but those previous accounting standards that were not really updated or were changed, but it's still the same accounting standards like before, usually they are falling under PAS or PAS 1, PAS 2. In short, they have no changes so far. Those Philippine accounting standards. And in case there are some gray areas for the said accounting standards, we do interpretations as well as a guide for related accounting processes or transactions. So the need for reporting standards, entities should follow the said standards. No, usually, so generally speaking, you are publicly listed entities, you do business, you engage with business transactions, you follow the said reporting standards. So the entities should show a uniform set of generally accepted reporting standards when preparing and presenting financial statements. Otherwise, financial statements will be misleading kasi the different entities would have different sets or ways to report PPE or cash. So it would be misleading and would be hard to account and do taxation or audit such, right? So the term generally acceptable means that either the standard has been established by an authoritative accounting rulemaking body, or the principle has gained general acceptance due to practice over time and has been proven to be the most useful one. So the accounting reporting standards, the process of establishing financial accounting standards is a democratic process in that a majority of practicing entities or professionals would consider if all the accounting standards would be applicable. Otherwise, they would fall in number 3, where they might have different interpretations or other accounting standards would be considered, no? Na hindi lang puro sa PAS 1 or other related accounting standards. So in short, not all accounting standards would have the same impact or same use with the different entities. They might have different standards to be used by the different entities involved. Would depend on the sector or would depend on line of business as well. Okay, so I guess that's the end of the second part. We're 2/3 done. There's one more left for us for the different accounting concepts and processes. Questions or queries, reactions so far? I hope you were able to review or went back, refresh your minds with some basic concepts so far related with financial accounting. Let's open our chat box. Yes, I intend to have a I'll stop the recording. I'll be having a 10-minute break before we have our final slide, the conceptual framework. So you may take your 10-minute break and I'll stop the recording.